Fallout New Vegas has a lot of different ways to heal your character. A stim pack, a bottle of soda, or maybe some toilet water. But what if you couldn't use any of these substances ever? Can you beat Fallout New Vegas without healing? So, this challenge is pretty similar to trying to beat the game without taking damage, with a few exceptions. I can take damage. I could get down to 10 HP in the first 10 minutes. I just have to beat the game like that, so I have to pick my plans of attack carefully. Let's go over the rules. Rule 1. I can't heal ever. No stim packs, food, or sleeping, or any other ways of healing. I made sure at the beginning of the playthrough that I turned off passive healing as well. Rule 2. Gaining more max HP during a level up was fine, as I didn't want to have to type in a command every time I leveled, and I'll tell you right now, it didn't really help me in the long run. Rule 3. Not really a rule, but I tried very hard to not save scum my way through this playthrough. I believe I ended up having about 50 saves, which is a lot, but I've saved a lot more for easier things. It's also set to very hard. Ready? Let's go. I woke up from my coma and named myself Thickless with 2 C's because I'd have to have very thick skin to survive this challenge. It was also because I made my head very wide. I assigned my special points and maxed out endurance, intelligence, and agility. I played a speed round of Jeopardy with Doc Mitch and picked guns, repair, and sneak as my tag skills. I also picked skilled and trigger discipline as my traits, and I was escorted out by the good Doc. Outside, I traveled to Sunny Smiles so I could get my weapon I would use for the first part of the run, the Varmint Rifle. It's not the best weapon, but it has mods that make it a decent enough stealth weapon. I waited outside of Chet's store until he had a silencer and a scope for sale, then I tested out my gun on Joe Cobb. It worked well enough, then I got to work rounding up the Good Springs townfolk to help Ringo. I surprisingly leveled up before finishing Ringo's quest, and put the points into guns and picked Rapid Reload as my perk. When the battle started, I hid behind a wagon as I didn't want to get hit, and the settlers prevailed. I swear one of these challenges I will go through the dangerous way to get to the strip, but not this time. On my way to Prim, I made sure to pick off a few powder gangers from a distance, and I arrived quite untouched by the wastes. I had to go the long way around to get a bead on the convicts outside of the casino, and made my way in. Talk to Johnson Nash, buy some supplies, and leave for the Bison Steve. This would be the first real test of how hard this would be. The convicts can easily be one-shot with my silenced rifle while I'm undetected, but while I'm detected is another question. The convicts in the back could also be one-shot, but there were more of them here, and I was forced to initiate combat for real. I took very little damage from this, but the realization that I couldn't heal the damage was starting to sink in. I also killed Beagle because his face bothers me. Back at the casino, I informed Johnson Nash of the tragedy that befell Deputy Beagle, and he tasked me with finding a suitable sheriff for the town, so I was off to the NCR Correctional Facility. On the outskirts of the facility, there were a few guards, and I sniped them before they even had a chance to know what was going on. And when I arrived at the Powder Gangers base, I made sure to take my sweet time, silently killing all of the Powder Gangers from afar. Since I was only shunned and not vilified by the Powder Gangers, I could enter and talk to Myers peacefully. Now it's time to go to the Mojave outpost for his pardon. I snapped a few ghouls from very far away, and one actually got the chance to come all the way over to me and attack. A little further up the road, I got a good vantage point and killed the Jackal gang members by this building. There were a few rad scorpions by the station, but I killed them pretty easily with my 10mm pistol. I spoke to Knight and bought Myers' pardon for 200 caps, then I also took Ranger Jackson's quest to kill some ants, and went there straight off. Since I like to live my life a little dangerously, I killed the ants with a grenade launcher and didn't take a lick of damage. Back to Jackson, I get some rewards that I planned on selling soon. I also leveled up to 4 and put my points into guns and picked Educated as my perk. I went back to Myers to finish the quest and started towards Nipton. I was very rudely interrupted by some powder gangers that had a present for me, and as much as I would have liked to kill them, they took me by surprise. So I loaded my autosave and made sure to stay far away from the cliffs. Since I was taking the more scenic route, I got to kill a few ants and even a couple of Jackal gang members. Before I actually made it to Nipton, I shot Oliver Swanik while he celebrated his life. Since I knew it would be a death wish to fight Vulpes and his legionaries, I accepted his quest and fast-traveled back to the outpost to talk to Ghost and Sergeant Kilborn for some easy experience. Back to Nipton, I make my way up the hill and make sure to kill a few bighorners. The Vipers on the ledge went down pretty easy, and the ones toward the bottom of the cliffs were also dealt with nicely. The Vipers further down the road took a bit more thinking to deal with, so I hopped on one of the ledges above the small alcove and pulled out my grenade launcher. It took a couple of well-placed grenades, but they went down after enough. Since I was in the area, I decided to stop by Brockflower Cave and acquire the Rat Slayer Varmint Rifle, as I figured it would be nice to have a slightly better weapon. Inside of Brockflower Cave, there were giant rats, and I really didn't think they would be too hard to deal with, but they put up one heck of a fight. No matter where I was or what I did, they would spot me and attack for a lot of damage. Too much damage. Lots of reloading later, I was able to get to the top of the cave, which had even more rats. I tried to kill the rats with my grenade launcher, and it worked well, except for the fact that it took a crap ton of damage, and that was a no-no. What ended up working was a couple of well-placed throwing spears and a stealth boy. Now with Rat Slayer in my grasp, I wanted to see how well it would perform against some enemies that aren't rats. I saw some bighorner not too far from the cave and made some sneak attacks. It was actually pretty good for a varmint rifle, but it would easily be replaced soon. After I killed the bighorners, I sniped a few gang members and even went golden gecko hunting for a bit, and landed quite nicely in Novak. I sold some supplies to Cliff Briscoe and left Novak just as soon as I arrived to make my way to the 188 trading post. There were a few gang members along the way that were once again easily dispatched with my Rat Slayer, and before I made it to the trading post, I decided to stop and go ant hunting for a bit. When I arrived at the 188, I made sure to check both shops to see if they had anything I wanted, and made tracks to Boulder City so I could have it discovered for later, and killed some more bighorner like I usually do. I also made sure to stop at the crashed caravan for some free combat armor, and stopped at the gunrunners for a resupply. Inside of the strip, I went straight for the Lucky 38, and I was very happy that I could actually do a Mr. House playthrough for once. House instructed me to get his platinum chip back, so it was off to the tops for the confrontation of a lifetime. And by that, I mean watching Benny run around looking for me while I shoot him in the head. Bam! Platinum chip to Mr. House, upgraded Securitrons, and time to go to the fort. But before that, I make sure to bug the Lucky 38 for the followers for easy experience. The ghoul troopers on the way to Cottonwood Cove were a pain to deal with, as some of them were glowing ones, but that gun prevails against all enemies. At Cottonwood Cove, I actually went inside one of the buildings and did a little looting before I went to the fort. Now come some of the more difficult parts of this challenge, trying to find the right council command to lower my health back to what it was, since going to and from the fort heals you. After about 20 minutes of searching, I found the right command and was free to head up to the tent. Caesar wanted me to blow up House's bunker, and I said yes, but little did he know, I was lying. For some reason I thought fighting in the arena at the fort would be a good idea, and I actually did very well against the first two opponents without taking barely any damage, but the last one had way too much HP for me to deal with, and she also packed a punch, so that was out of the picture. Inside of the bunker, I dealt with the Protectrons and turrets quite easily until I got to the last room. The turrets were laid out in a pattern that made it so I couldn't attack head-on without taking damage. The grenade launcher once again came in clutch, as I was able to sit in the lower steps where they couldn't hit me, and I was able to upgrade the Securitrons. I went back to Caesar and told him I completed my task, and then I went to talk to Vulpus so I could do his quest. He wanted me to check on someone who was an informant, but they were being hassled by the Omertas. Even though I wouldn't be siding with the Legion, I wanted to stay on their good side long enough to not have to worry about getting attacked by assassins. I also wanted the loot crates they supply you with once you reach a high enough reputation with them. The informant was located in Vault 21 at the back of the strip. There were 3 Omertas in a room with her, and since I probably couldn't take them head to head without getting killed, I decided to go for the sneak attack approach, and got into just the right spot where the Omertas couldn't see me, and started blasting. The only one I had to actually fight was the last one, and I'm pretty sure that doesn't count as an actual fight. I made sure the informant was safe, and returned to Vulpus at the fort. He thanked me, and then I went to see Lucius in Caesar's room, and he wanted me to get the howitzer firing mechanism from the boomers, and that was easily doable after I got the boomers to side with me. Right after I left the fort, I was contacted by a disguise from Antarius about the supply drop right outside of Cottonwood Cove, which was exactly what I wanted. The drop boxes didn't have too much stuff in them, and there were less than I expected, but you can get more boxes to spawn if you get your karma rating with the Legion higher. Now that I was pretty much done working for the Legion, I went back to Mr. House for my next assignment, which was to get the boomers to help us in the oncoming attack on the Hoover Dam. I knew getting to the boomers without taking too much damage might be hard, so I stopped at Boulder City to steal the turbo on the floor, and then I remembered that the Omertas at Gamora sell a bunch of turbo at the bar. So I went to the Gamora and bought all of the turbo, and waited 3 days to buy some more. Now I was very set to go through the boomers' barrage of explosives. It was the easiest time I've ever had getting to the boomers, and I didn't take a lick of damage due to the turbo. Inside, I talked with Pearl about her tribe, and she directed me to the people who might need some of my help. I started with Rochelle and her ant problems, and then went to Loyal about fixing up the power array panels. Now, for some reason, I decided to go back to the strip and loot the Silver Rush for weapons and ammo. And at the time of writing this, I'm still not sure why, but I can't wait to find out. Oh, that's absolutely amazing. I am such an idiot. So in the last video about Joshua Graham, I talked about how I was confused whether it was laser weapons or ballistic weapons that I could use to kill the ants without having them explode. And I didn't figure out until I was done with this playthrough and halfway through the script that it was the laser weapons that caused them to blow up. But by that time, I was already done with this challenge as well, so props for me being an idiot. After my stupidity nearly killed me, I gave my 9mm submachine gun a good workout and was able to turn the power back on for the boomers. I leveled up and maxed out the repair, and started working on my speech. Not as a failsafe, but because I wanted to be able to skip some of the more time-consuming quests. I also returned to Loyal with news that I repaired his solar arrays. From here, I went to go learn the Boomer history, but I made a mistake when I talked to the kid too early after he got done talking, and broke that little bit of the quest. Lovely. I didn't have the medical skill to help the doctor's patients, and I also didn't want to help Jack find a girlfriend. So now it was time to collect some missiles for Rochelle, who said they needed some extras. So I just stole a bunch from the Boomer's munition haul, and continued the main Boomer quest of getting the bomber out of the water. I was also able to get the howitzer firing mechanism for the Legion, and that ended my relationship with them. Wow, who knew it would be so easy to get a sunken bomber up to the top of the water? Now that I'm done with the Boomer's questline, they promise to help Mr. House and I when the time comes. Back to Mr. House, and he has another mission for me. I have to see what the Omertas are up to, aside from hassling informants. Before I went to the Gamorra, I stopped by the gun range to buy myself a fine anti-materia rifle so I could one-shot anyone I needed to. Inside of the Gamorra, I was tasked with helping Kachino break up his boss's gun smuggling plans. Sadly, my speech was way below par for this mission, and I actually had to do it. This consisted of me walking around for 30 minutes trying to figure out where the evidence that the bosses in Clandon set Troik up, but I eventually found it in one of the boss's rooms and took it to Clandon, and he attacked after our conversation. I killed him and went back to Kachino, and we proceeded to kill his bosses and end their gun smuggling sting. Back at the Lucky 38, Mr. House tasked me with taking out the Brotherhood, and as much as I didn't want to do that, I decided that it would be for the best. But before I decided to go to Hidden Valley, I went to Camp Gulf to try and get some Ranger combat armor. My first few attempts didn't go as planned, so I went inside one of the main buildings and looted everything. I also tried to kill a sleeping ranger in a room full of other sleeping rangers, and to say that was a bad idea is an understatement. I went back outside, and I was able to kill a few of the veteran rangers outside without alerting anyone, and I made off with their armor. Of course, I like to change my mind often, and it wasn't too long after I got the armor that I decided that maybe I shouldn't wear it, as I would get attacked by the Legion on sight, as well as the Brotherhood. So I sold it and bought some reinforced combat armor Mark II. Kinda pointless, I know. I made a stop at the 188 trading post so I could grab Veronica for an easy entry into the bunker. Oh, what's that? A Ranger Sequoia? Yeah, I killed the main ranger at Camp Gulf and stole his kickin' Ranger Sequoia. What of it? Inside of the bunker, I talked with the Elder and with Head Paladin Hardin, who wanted to replace the Elder by getting him removed. I agreed to help Hardin, as it would be the easiest way to get power armor. I walked around for a bit and chatted up Paladin Ramos for some info on how to boot the Elder from his position, and he informed me that I might be able to find some of the answers I'm looking for on the terminals in the lower section of the bunker. There was a problem, though. The terminals were infected with a virus, and to access them, I'd have to help get rid of it. Getting rid of the virus is not a very hard thing to do, but it seems very luck-based, as it took me nearly 15 minutes of clicking through terminals until I was finally able to isolate the virus. On the terminals, I learned of the chain that binds, which is the pillar of the Brotherhood's code. I went back to Hardin about it, and he asked me to bring him back the holotapes from the Lost Squads instead of to the Elder. I agreed, and went on my way to find them. The first squad is quite easy to find, as it's right outside of Hidden Valley, and my Ranger Sequoia makes quick work of them. The next squad is located on the outskirts of the Boomer base, and since they love me, all I had to do was find the bodies and take the holotape. The last squad is located at the RepCon HQ, and since my science and lockpick skills are both abysmal, I have to sit through the tour to acquire a pass card to get to the upper floors, but from there it's easy enough to find the dead squad. Once I returned to Hardin, I showed him the holotapes and he took them to the Elder and made him step down. Hardin was now the Elder, and I wanted to join the Brotherhood for some easy power armor. So I was tasked with killing all of the Van Graffs so they could send a squad down to retrieve the weapons later. I had a great idea for how to deal with this. I went to the Silver Rush and asked Gloria for a job as a door guard, and then I waited until just the right moment where I knew a guy carrying a bomb would walk into the store and kill all of the Van Graffs at once. Easy as pie. Before I go back to Hidden Valley, I decided to make my way out to the Brotherhood safe house so I could get some non-faction T-51 power armor without buying it. Oh, what do you know, there's a Legion assassin party here. There's also an abundant amount of Deathclaws here as well, and I'd rather kill Deathclaws over the Legion assassins any day of the week. At the bunker, I grabbed the power armor and leave as fast as I could before more Legion or Deathclaws could get the drop on me. Back to Hardin at the bunker, I now have power armor and I'm on the Brotherhood's good side. Well, for a few more minutes at least, it was now time to destroy the bunker. Getting the codes to blow up the bunker was the easy part. The hard part was getting out of the bunker before the Brotherhood could kill me. I had a great idea for this. Since I still had a large amount of turbo on me, I literally just drugged my way out of the bunker without any troubles from the Paladins at all. When I got out of the bunker, I was expecting a few Paladins to be waiting for me, but nothing happened. Back to Mr. House. I said back to Mr. House! Ah, crap, what did I break this time? It would seem that me turboing my way out of the bunker broke something, as I couldn't fast travel away from this position. I couldn't fast travel while I was very far away from the bunker either. I really didn't want my fast travel to be broken the rest of the game, so I walked all the way back to the bunker again and checked inside to see if there might be some paladins inside that caused the game to break. There was no one, and when I left the bunker again, my game was fixed. Can someone tell me what happened, please? I would very much like to know. Now we go back to Mr. House and get tasked with our last real main quest, turning on the El Dorado substation. This was very easy as usual, considering the NCR never attacks me after telling me not to go into the substation, and I was ready to initiate the Battle of Hoover Dam. Sort of. I made sure to do a drug run at the Gamora first, so I had plenty of turbo for the fight with the Legate. Honestly, when I started this challenge, I expected it to be very difficult, but at this point I still have more than half of my health bar left, and I was very surprised. Time to take the fight to the Legion. I started by staying towards the back of the dam and sniping the Khans and Legion members that reared their heads. This was made pretty easy with my anti-materia rifle and armor-piercing rounds. I continued down the dam, making short work of everybody that stands before me, and I enter the dam and convince the NCR guards to leave their posts so I can stall Mr. House at the dam. From there, I powered up the Securitrons at the fort for later, and made my way back outside of the dam. I was just tanking whatever damage that happened to me at this point and running with it. The last stretch of the Legate's camp was easy with my Securitron buddies helping me, and the inside of the camp was just as easy considering one of the Securitrons came to join me in my final fight. The last person I had to kill was the Legate, and I kinda made a joke out of this. I took my last dose of turbo and shot him 4 times before I wore off, just enough to kill him. The rest, as they say, is history for the Legion, but I still have to deal with Oliver and his Rangers. By me, I mean the Securitrons, and I beat Fallout New Vegas without healing. Okay, this challenge was way easier than I expected it to be, and I almost didn't upload it because I thought that people wouldn't like it. But then it would have been a waste of time playing it, so oh well. Give this challenge a try if you're feeling a little bold, but don't expect much trouble. I feel like this challenge could have been made a little harder if I set myself a certain amount of saves that I could use, but I never thought about it while I was playing. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you like it and subscribe, as that stuff really helps me out bunches. Also, check out the Discord server, we have a lot of fun there. The link is in the description. And until next time, stay safe out there, and peace out.